My mother-in-law switched my wedding dress with her 100-year-old gown and said Nathan trusts my judgment. But when I showed up at the wedding, she couldn't believe her eyes. I stared at my reflection in the bridal boutique's mirror, but instead of my chosen wedding dress, I saw a yellowed Victorian-style monstrosity complete with a high collar that made me feel like I was being slowly strangled. My future mother-in-law, Gloria, stood behind me beaming with pride while the boutique owner wrung her hands nervously. My name is Alara, and this was supposed to be my final dress fitting 3 weeks before my wedding. Instead, I was looking at a family heirloom that Gloria had somehow convinced the boutique to switch with my carefully selected gown. Isn't it magnificent? Gloria's voice dripped with satisfaction. 5 generations of Hargrove brides have worn this dress. Nathan will be so pleased to see you honoring our family traditions. I caught the boutique owner's eye in the mirror. She quickly looked away, suddenly very interested in adjusting the dress's elaborate train. I knew then that Gloria had orchestrated this whole thing, probably throwing around her influence as one of the city's most prominent socialites. Where's my dress? I managed to keep my voice steady, though my hands were shaking. The one I put the deposit on. Gloria waved dismissively. Oh, I had them send it back. This one is so much more appropriate for a Hargrove wedding. Besides, that modern thing you chose looked more suitable for a cocktail party than a proper church ceremony. I pulled out my phone to call Nathan, but Gloria's hand shot out and gripped my wrist. Her perfectly manicured nails dug into my skin. Dear, let's not bother Nathan at work with such trivial matters. He trusts my judgment when it comes to these things. That's when I saw it. The slight twitch at the corner of her mouth, the gleam of triumph in her eyes. This wasn't just about a dress. This was a power play, a message about who really controlled my future in this family. I forced a smile, one that didn't reach my eyes. You're right, Gloria. Why don't you give me a moment alone to appreciate the details of this beautiful dress? She hesitated, probably sensing something in my tone, but social graces won out. As soon as she left the fitting room, I started taking photos. Every yellowed seam, every outdated detail, every suffocating inch of that dress. Then I texted Ivy. You won't believe what she's done now. Meet me at Joe's in 30. Bring wine. Looking back at my reflection, I made a decision. If Gloria wanted to play games, she was about to learn that her future daughter-in-law could play them too. And I had something she didn't. Nothing left to lose. I can't believe you're making such a big deal about this, Nathan said, barely looking up from his laptop as I paced our living room. Mom was just trying to do something special for you. 3 glasses of wine with Ivy had given me the courage to confront him about the dress situation, but his dismissive response made my blood boil. I stopped pacing and planted myself between him and his screen. Special? She completely undermined my choice without even asking me. Do you know how much time I spent finding that perfect dress? Nathan sighed, closing his laptop. Look, you know how important traditions are to her. Maybe we could compromise? Wear her dress for the ceremony and change into yours for the reception. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Gloria. Darling, I've taken the liberty of revising the guest list. I've added a few essential family friends. Don't worry about the extra costs. We'll handle everything. I thrust my phone at Nathan. See? This is exactly what I'm talking about. She's not just trying to do something special. She's systematically taking over our entire wedding. You're being paranoid, Nathan said, but his eyes lingered on the message longer than necessary. Besides, she's paying for most of it. That stopped me cold. What do you mean most of it? We agreed to split the costs with your parents. Nathan's face flushed. He stood up, suddenly very interested in straightening the books on our coffee table. Well, with the recent changes at work and the investment opportunity Mom suggested, Nathan, my voice was barely a whisper. How much do we owe your mother? His silence told me everything. I remembered Gloria's smug smile at the boutique, her perfectly manicured nails digging into my wrist. It all made sense now. She wasn't just controlling the wedding. She was buying it. The doorbell rang, making us both jump. Nathan practically ran to answer it, clearly grateful for the interruption. I heard Gloria's voice floating in from the hallway, followed by the click of her heels on hardwood. Oh, good. You're both here. She breezed into the living room carrying a thick binder. I've been meeting with the wedding planner, and we need to discuss some changes to the ceremony. The minister at St. Augustine's has some concerns about your unconventional vows. I caught my reflection in the window, pale, hands clenched into fists. But behind my reflection, I saw something else. Gloria's designer purse carelessly left open on our entryway table. Inside was a familiar-looking notebook, the one she always carried to her weekly therapy sessions. Suddenly, I knew exactly what I needed to do next. Gloria's therapy notebook felt heavy in my hands as I flipped through its pages in my car, parked 2 blocks from her therapist's office. I'd managed to slip it into my purse during the chaos of wedding planning discussions, and what I found inside made my stomach turn. Nathan will never survive on his own. one entry read. He needs my guidance just like his father did. This girl is filling his head with nonsense about independence. My phone buzzed. Another text from Nathan. Where are you? Mom's worried about her missing notebook. Says it has important personal information. I bet it does. Like the detailed accounts of how she'd manipulated Nathan's career choices, steering him into the family business, or her strategies for managing his relationships, including a disturbing list of my deficiencies as a future wife. The notebook revealed something else too. Gloria's own deep-seated fears of abandonment after her husband's death. But instead of dealing with her trauma, she'd channeled it into controlling every aspect of her children's lives. My phone rang. Jocelyn's name flashed on the screen. Hey, I heard you took Mom's notebook, she said without preamble. Look, whatever you're planning. Did you know she's been sabotaging Nathan's job interviews at other firms? Silence on the other end. Then how did you? It's all in here, Jocelyn. Every manipulation. Every lie. She even has notes about your art gallery opening last month. How she called potential buyers beforehand to discourage them from attending. I heard Jocelyn's sharp intake of breath. That's why nobody showed up. I thought my work just wasn't good enough. A tap on my car window made me jump. Nathan stood there, his face a mask of barely contained anger. I rolled down the window, clutching the notebook tighter. Give me the notebook, Elara, he said, his voice eerily calm. Mom's really upset. Of course, she is, I replied, meeting his gaze. Because this proves everything I've been trying to tell you about how she controls us, manipulates us. Stop. Nathan's hand shot through the window, grabbing for the notebook. You had no right to take her private property. This is exactly why she says you're not ready to be part of our family. The words hit me like a physical blow. I looked at the man I'd agreed to marry, really looked at him, and saw Gloria's perfect puppet staring back at me. You're right, I said quietly, starting the car. I'm not ready to be part of your family. Not like this. I drove away, leaving Nathan standing on the sidewalk. In my rearview mirror, I saw Gloria hurrying toward him, her face twisted with concern. But all I could think about was the last entry I'd read in her notebook. Sometimes we must be cruel to be kind. Nathan will thank me one day. Ivy's spare bedroom had become my refuge since the notebook incident 3 days ago. I sat cross-legged on the bed, my laptop open to a blank document, when my phone lit up with Jocelyn's message. Mom's telling everyone you had a mental breakdown and stole her private medical records. Nathan's not correcting her. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. The story was there burning inside me. Not the fantasy novel I'd been struggling with for months, but something darker, more personal. A tale about a mother who devoured her children's futures in the name of love. The doorbell rang. Through Ivy's window, I spotted Nathan's car parked across the street. I crept downstairs, staying out of sight as Ivy answered the door. She doesn't want to see you. Ivy's voice carried clearly. I just need 5 minutes, Nathan pleaded. Mom's willing to forget the whole thing if Elara apologizes and returns the notebook. I pressed my back against the wall listening. Forget what exactly? Ivy asked. How she's been sabotaging both her children's lives? Or how she's got you so financially trapped you can't even stand up to her? You don't understand our family dynamics. No, you don't understand what you're losing. The door closed. I heard Ivy's footsteps approaching, but my phone buzzed again. This time, it was an email from my literary agent. Interesting proposal from Riverside Publishing. They're looking for contemporary family dramas. Any interest? My hands started shaking. I opened my laptop again, but instead of my usual fantasy world building, I typed the mother-in-law's manual. A guide to destroying your children's lives with love. Ivy found me an hour later, still typing furiously. Nathan left something for you, she said, holding out an envelope. Inside was a check, enough to cover my half of the wedding costs. A post-it note read, "To restore your independence. Please come home so we can talk." I laughed, but it came out more like a sob. He still doesn't get it. This was never about the money. What are you going to do? I turned my laptop screen toward her, showing the first chapter of my new novel. Her eyes widened as she read the opening lines. The day I realized my future mother-in-law was systematically destroying her children's lives, I was wearing her yellowed wedding dress. Gloria will try to stop you, Ivy warned. I thought about Jocelyn's failed art show, Nathan's sabotaged career opportunities, and all the other dreams Gloria had smothered with her controlling love. Let her try, I said, continuing to type. Some stories need to be told. My phone buzzed again, Gloria's number. I declined the call and kept writing. The truth was my weapon now, and I intended to use it. I was halfway through chapter 3 of my manuscript when Jocelyn called, her voice tight with panic. Can you watch the kids tonight? I have a potential buyer for my entire collection, but Mom's threatening to tell them about my divorce if I go to the meeting. An hour later, her 3 kids tumbled into Ivy's living room. Oliver immediately pulled out his tablet. while Lily and Max fought over who would sit next to me on the couch. Just for a few hours, Jocelyn promised, already backing toward the door. "Anna Lara, thank you for not giving Mom back her notebook. It's about time someone stood up to her." The kids were actually a welcome distraction from my writing. We were building a pillow fort when Nathan showed up unannounced, his face stormy. "We need to talk," he said, glancing at the kids. "Alone? Whatever you need to say, you can say it here," I replied, helping Max balance another cushion on top of their structure. "Fine. Mom's lawyer sent a cease and desist letter to your literary agent. They know about the book you're writing." The pillow fort collapsed. Lily squealed in disappointment, but I barely heard her. "How did she? Does it matter?" Nathan cut me off. "This has gone far enough. You need to choose what's more important, this vendetta against my mother or our future together." Oliver looked up from his tablet. "Are you going to marry Uncle Nathan? Grandma says you're too selfish to be a good wife." The room went silent. Nathan's face flushed red, but he didn't contradict his nephew's words. "Out," I said quietly. "Alara, be reasonable. Get out." I grabbed my laptop, clutching it to my chest like a shield. "And tell your mother she can send all the lawyers she wants. Some stories deserve to be told even if they're uncomfortable truths." After Nathan left, I sat with the kids in the ruins of their fort. Lily crawled into my lap, playing with my engagement ring. "Why is Grandma so mean sometimes?" she asked. "She's scared." I found myself saying, "Sometimes people do mean things because they're afraid of losing control." My phone buzzed with a text from Jocelyn. "Buyer loved the collection, but Mom already called them. Meeting cancelled. I'm done letting her win." I looked at the three innocent faces around me, then at my laptop where my story waited. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about breaking a cycle of control that would otherwise poison another generation. I slipped off my engagement ring and set it on the coffee table. Then I opened my laptop and began to write again, my fingers flying across the keyboard as Jocelyn's children built a new fort around me. The cease and desist letter wasn't Gloria's only move. I stared at my bank account balance in disbelief. Zero. Every penny frozen pending an investigation into theft of private medical information. My literary agent wasn't returning my calls, and my manuscript folder had been corrupted, leaving only fragments of my work. I was packing my few remaining belongings from Nathan's house when Gloria appeared in the doorway, perfectly composed in her designer suit. "I tried to warn Nathan about women like you," she said, examining her manicured nails, "always trying to destroy families in the name of self-expression." "Families?" I laughed bitterly. "You mean your control over them?" "I protect what's mine." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Did you really think you could publish those lies about our family? That anyone would believe you over me? They're not lies. There's your own words from your notebook, which you stole." And now she smiled. The same smile I'd seen when she'd replaced my wedding dress. "Now you have nothing. No money, no manuscript, no fiancé. Nathan's already agreed to release a statement about your mental health issues." My hands shook as I zipped my suitcase. "Where is he?" "At the office, signing the papers to become junior partner. He's finally accepting his responsibilities to this family." She paused without distractions. I shouldered past her, but she grabbed my arm. "One more thing. Jocelyn asked me to tell you not to contact her or the children again. She's realized what's best for her family." The walls seemed to close in. I'd lost everything. My savings, my work, my future family, even my allies. Gloria had won. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. The text read, "Interesting story you're writing. Let's talk. Marcus Chun, Horizon Publishing." Gloria must have seen something change in my expression. "Whatever you're thinking, don't. You've already lost." I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw something I'd missed before. Fear. Not of me, but of the truth. Her perfectly maintained facade had cracks, and she knew it. "You're right about one thing," I said, pulling out her notebook from my bag. "I did lose everything, which means I have nothing left to lose." Her eyes widened as I tore out pages from the notebook, letting them flutter to the floor. "What are you doing?" "Starting over. But this time, I'm telling our story my way." I walked to the door then turned back. "Oh, and Gloria?" "I made copies. Lots of copies." I left her standing among the scattered pages of her secrets. My hand still shaking, but my mind clearer than it had been in months. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find your voice. Marcus Chen's office at Horizon Publishing felt like neutral ground as I sat across from Gloria, Nathan, and their lawyer. My manuscript lay between us on the conference table like a loaded weapon. "This is blackmail," Gloria's lawyer declared, jabbing his finger at the pages. Marcus leaned back in his chair. "Actually, it's a compelling memoir about family dynamics and emotional abuse. Our legal team has already vetted it." "It's fiction," Gloria snapped, but her perfectly manicured nails drummed nervously on the table. "Is it?" I pulled out my phone playing a recording. Gloria's voice filled the room. Nathan will never survive on his own. He needs my guidance just like his father did. Nathan's head snapped up. When was this? Last week, I said quietly. Right after you signed the partnership papers. The door opened and Jocelyn walked in, her face set with determination. Gloria's composure cracked. What are you doing here? Supporting the truth, Jocelyn said, placing a USB drive on the table. My therapy sessions, Mom? The ones where I talked about how you sabotaged my art career, my marriage, everything. I protected you. You controlled us. Jocelyn's voice shook. And I let you because I was afraid. But Alara showed me what real strength looks like. Nathan stood up suddenly, his chair scraping back. The London job offer. 3 years ago. Did you really call them and withdraw my application? Gloria's silence was answer enough. The book publishes next month, Marcus said. Unless what? Gloria's lawyer demanded. I met Gloria's eyes. Unless you let them go. All of them. No more financial control. No more manipulation. Sign over Nathan's trust fund. Stop interfering with Jocelyn's art career, and stay away from the children unless invited. You can't prove any of this, Gloria whispered, but her voice had lost its edge. No. I nodded to Marcus, who slid forward a stack of papers, bank statements, emails, phone records. Your notebook was just the beginning. I had 6 weeks to dig deeper while you were busy freezing my accounts. Gloria stared at the evidence of her manipulation, her carefully constructed world crumbling. Nathan picked up my manuscript, reading the title page. Strings, a story of love, control, and breaking free. Mom, he said softly, I think it's time to let go. The silence stretched like a thread about to snap. Then Gloria reached for the papers with trembling hands. I watched her sign away her control, realizing this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about liberation. Not just mine, but everyone's. I never wanted to destroy your family, I said as she set down the pen. I just wanted to free them from the cage you built. 6 months after my book's release, I sat in Jocelyn's new gallery watching Oliver and Lily arrange flowers for the opening night. My memoir had become a bestseller, sparking conversations about family dynamics and emotional manipulation that I never expected. Anna Laura. Max toddled over, holding up a crayon drawing. I made this for your next book. I hugged him, catching sight of Nathan across the gallery. He'd grown a beard, looked less polished, more himself. We nodded to each other, a quiet acknowledgement of what was lost and what was gained. Gloria's in therapy, Jocelyn said, joining me with 2 glasses of champagne. Real therapy this time, not just collecting ammunition. She sent me a letter last week apologizing for the art show sabotage. Did you forgive her? Not yet, but maybe someday. She gestured to her paintings, bold, raw pieces about breaking free. Sometimes the best revenge is living well. My phone buzzed with a text from Ivy. Turn on Channel 7 now. The gallery's TV showed Gloria being interviewed about her foundation for supporting adult children of controlling parents. She looked older, more human somehow. I realized too late that love shouldn't come with strings, she was saying. Sometimes it takes losing everything to understand what really matters. Did you know about this? I asked Jocelyn. No, but I'm not surprised. Your book changed things, Alara, more than you know. The gallery doors opened and Marcus walked in, carrying advanced copies of my next book, a novel this time about a woman finding her voice. But before I could greet him, I noticed an envelope tucked into one of my author copies. Inside was a note from Gloria. You were right about the cage, but wrong about one thing. You didn't destroy our family. You forced us to rebuild it stronger and freer. Thank you for that hard truth. Attached was a photo of my original wedding dress preserved and waiting at the boutique. For whenever you're ready to write your next chapter, the note concluded. No strings attached. I tucked the note away, watching Jocelyn's children play among the artwork of their mother's liberation. Nathan caught my eye again, raising his glass in a silent toast. We weren't ready for forgiveness, not yet, but something else had taken root. Understanding, maybe, or hope. Ready for your speech? Jocelyn asked as guests began arriving. I looked around at this unlikely family we'd created. Not bound by control or obligation, but by choice and truth. Actually, I said, pulling out my phone to show her Marcus's latest email. I think I'm ready for something else entirely. The subject line read, International Book Tour starting in London? Sometimes the best stories don't end with revenge or reconciliation, but with the courage to begin again.